Can you make money flipping cards? Absolutely. It's kind of like scouting, right? Like if you're a professional scout and you know a guy, or you know the next basketball player is going to be good in 2 years, you could invest 10 grand in his rookie cards, go get him graded, right? And let him sit in your closet for 2 years, and then he pops, right? Like that's how you invest in cards.
All right, welcome to the Digital Social Hour. I'm your host, Sean Kelly. I'm here with my co-host, Charlie Cavalier, and our guest today, Matt, Dappz Sports.
What's going on,
How's
bro?
it going, man?
It's good to see you guys. Recently in LA, now I'm in your town, so
Yeah,
good to be
in
here.
Vegas. You were just here for a sports conference, right?
Yeah, it was called the Mint Collective. Really, really cool, clean sports card show. A lot of big brands there: DraftKings, Dappz, Fanatics.
Yeah.
Fanatics is kind of taking over the game. I don't know
Right.
how. Are you aware of what's going on?
They
or?
bought all the licensing, right?
Yeah, so they bought all the licensing, NFL, NBA, MLB, right?
Wow.
But it doesn't start until 2026. Now, this is kind of a big deal, too, because Dappz has had the license for MLB for 70 years. So they just had their 70th anniversary, like, edition, Mickey Mantle, 1952 rookie card. Like,
Right.
they've had this forever. So Fanatics purchases Dappz, so nothing will really change. You'll still have those Dappz, rookie cards that are going to be produced.
Yeah.
But now what's very interesting too is that Dappz used to have the license to NBA and NFL. Then this company, Panini, comes along in like 2011 and they take it over, right? So now the NBA and NFL licenses are acquired by Panini and Dappz has the MLB.
Interesting.
So up until that point, though, you had Dappz producing NFL and NBA cards, and now they don't produce them anymore, right? So Panini has pretty much ran the game for the last 10 years because NFL, let's face it, NFL and NBA are kind of bigger markets, right? Especially in the United States than baseball.
Yeah.
So they've really held they have the most influence over the sports card market because they have those two licenses over the last 10 years. And then you have the boom that happened, kind of during of sports cards, and they reap the benefits for sure.
Yeah. So what caused that sports card boom? Because I'm sure you saw it during it was a massive wave.
So I think the majority of what happened is, I don't know if you remember, but sports were off television for, I don't know if it was 30, 60, 90 days. Like I remember Rudy Gobert did that interview and he's touching all the mics and then like they shut everything down. So, and this,
Everyone got
it's right. Everybody's getting, they cancel all sports. Remember, they also cancel all Hollywood productions. So this isn't specific to sports. This is specific to every industry, right? Entertainment, sports, whatever it may be. So that forces everybody into their bedrooms, right? And now there's no productions. So what do people do? They take their cell phones or their cameras in their room and they start live streaming, right? Or they're producing their own content, which might not be live, right? But that leads me in my bedroom to start live streaming, breaking boxes open.
Yeah.
I meet you pretty soon after that, by the way. And I'm just buying blasters and mega boxes, which are $20, $40, $50 boxes from Target, chasing Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert rookie cards, right? And then I'd go online and I'd try to make 10, 20 bucks a box as a side hustle.
Yeah.
Right. And as I'm doing this, I'm like, oh, wow, I just made $100 in a couple hours. It'd be cool if I could make 200. And then it's like, oh, I just made 200. Like, it'd be cool if I could make 500. And then I'm making $1,000 a night from my bedroom. And, I'm happy. Right. And as that evolves, live streaming as a whole evolves.
Yeah.
Because remember, there's no sports on television. So think about all the people who gamble on sports, right? Think about all the people who just want action. Like they have nothing to watch. What are they doing all day, right? So the cool thing about buying cards is like there's this adrenaline rush to it, right? Like you're like, oh, what am I going to hit? And people buy Target blasters, $20, a blaster box is what they call it.
Yeah.
They buy a blaster box because a $20 box might return you $100. Which is kind of cool if, you're a kid who's just buying something in the store, your local flea market or your local Target or Walmart, whatever it is. That's cool to spend $20 and get $100 back, right?
Right. What I find fascinating is you're opening cards and packs of sports cards on social media, TikTok and Instagram. He's only getting like 50, 100 viewers, but he's making millions of dollars a year on it. Like for that amount of viewership, the ratio seems crazy.
Yeah. So like our TikTok channel actually does like 200,000 views a day.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like you might see at any given time, like we probably don't drop below 100 on TikTok, but like
Okay.
that's probably like our baseline
Oh,
now.
I was looking at Instagram. I haven't checked TikTok.
Yeah. So like we haven't streamed on Instagram in a while, but those numbers were accurate when we were on Instagram for sure. But when I was in my bedroom or when I first, acquired our shop, like we only streamed 4-6 hours a day. We're almost at 24 hours a day
Wow.
streaming, right?
That's crazy.
On TikTok. So we have 2 more studios built now. So we have 3 streams that have the potential to run very soon.
Wow.
Right. And once all 3 of those are up, if we can get those, they don't even need to run all 24 hours. I could have one 24-hour channel and then 2 channels that run 12 hours a day. Right. And then maybe I have like a Pokey Dappz channel and an
Right.
Anime Dappz channel and Dappz Toys. Right. All these different live streams that could potentially run. Now, I am bullish on the future of shopping is live shopping. Right. So Instagram right now, you're scrolling through TikTok, boom, you get hit with like a static ad, right? For a hoodie or a t-shirt or a pair of shoes. And I mean, I've bought stuff in the last 60 days for sure. I don't know if you guys have off of Instagram, but you see an ad, you see something you like, takes you down a little rabbit hole, boom, purchase. Now, imagine though, instead of seeing a static ad, right? There's a person who's showing you a hoodie, and then you can comment, hey man, how does that run? Does it run a little small? And he's like, oh, size large is more like a medium. Boom. Now he just gave you information in real time, and now that influences your purchase. So that's why I say the future of shopping is live shopping, because maybe you're a foodie and you cook at home all the time, and somebody's making, they're cooking something live, and they're like, hey, do you boil it at medium or is it better to drop the temperature down? Like you can get those answers in real time, whereas you can't do that right now.
And
So-
you just got access to live shopping on TikTok, right?
Yeah. So we got access to live shopping. TikTok's goal is to basically have their own TikTok shop, right? So they're kind of working through that, and we're obviously a partner of theirs, just trying to help them, give them feedback in their beta. We actually had to connect Shopify. Like we don't run a Shopify website, or traditionally we wouldn't run that. And we actually had to build a separate Shopify to API into TikTok's shopping, right? So that's what we're currently doing, but TikTok doesn't want to, involve Shopify. They want to have their own shop built,
Right.
so that people can be in a live stream and just click 2 buttons, boom, your credit card's already uploaded to TikTok. Are you guys familiar with Whatnot?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of like Whatnot is an app that is strictly for live shopping, right? And there's a lot of auctions on there.
Yeah.
But TikTok is incredible because you have 1 billion people on there, and they're scrolling through content and memes and comedy and educating themselves on, do it yourself or whatever you might educate yourself on TikTok. And you can now just be scrolling and boom, there's a live shopping channel that you're seeing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like QVC back in the day, except it's not as bland.
Right.
There could be an entertainment aspect, which is what we bring to the table, right?
Right.
So not only are we live streaming, but we're hiring influencers and actors and actresses to entertain while we're opening your packs of cards, right? Which is cool too, because listen, as Netflix and as Hulu and Amazon and all these different companies have kind of taken the reins from cable over the last 20 years, right? If you don't want to buy 100 channels and pay $100 a month, you can kind of select your channels now, right? I'll pay $8.99 for this channel and I'll pay $9.99 for this channel, but I don't want the other, $80 worth of channels, right? And it's the same thing with live streaming, right? Like I really dig this guy. I'm going to pay his, $8.99 to watch his live stream every month. And you see that on YouTube or Twitch or whatever the platform is, right? So I think with live shopping, there won't be a paywall to get into the shop, but there might be, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have exclusive channels who are selling high-end stuff, maybe they're like, we don't want people spamming our comments. This is a high-end stream,
Right.
right? This is for people who like luxury brands or whatever it might be.
That's cool. It sounds like it removes a lot of friction from the buying process.
Yeah, and it makes it more fun. And I saw it firsthand. You know, Matt and I first met actually at one of your networking events, the one in LA. And you whip out your phone and you show me your guy literally live streaming right then and there, ripping packs, making it fun. I almost wanted to stop, you know, meeting people and start watching this.
It's addicting, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, what is the conversion rate for your audience, right? Like, how many people watching actually end up buying something?
So we're probably shipping out like 10,000 packages a month.
Holy
Wow.
Yeah, so it's hard to give you that rate because like we're growing so fast. So we're out of 2,000 people a day, we're probably doing I don't know, like 1,000 payments, 200,000. So
Wow.
you know,
It's a very good conversion rate.
yeah,
Solid.
it's
Yeah.
not bad. So
What's the most expensive card you've pulled?
most expensive card we've pulled, I personally pulled a Joe Burrow Nebula 1 of 1, and that's kind of like
The rookie card?
yeah, rookie. I think it was listed on eBay for like 80 grand.
Okay.
You know, but we pulled a Jackie Robinson 1 of 1 that was with his autograph on it a couple months ago. So like a lot of these 1 of 1s are kind of subjective, and
Right.
it's really, if you have a Jackie Robinson collector who digs that card, he could pay double. You know,
Right.
there's a lot of irrational spending. Also, when Patrick Mahomes wins MVP or the Super Bowl, like his cards go up 2, 3, 4, 5x. And the players so Mahomes has obviously reached a level of superiority to other players, right? He has 2 MVPs now, he has 2 championships. But the guys who have no MVPs and have that kind of Cinderella story, like they can 10, 20x.
Right.
Because their price was so low.
The Brock Purdy's of the world.
Correct. So what's also interesting though is Brock Purdy kind of starts to flourish during the season, but the premier product is Prism, right? Prism Football, which is made by Panini.
Right.
And that rookie card wasn't out yet. So then he gets injured. Then the NFL ends, the season ends, right? And then Prism comes out. So not to say his cards took a hit, but if those cards came out but preseason and then Purdy went off, he would have had a 10 or 20x for sure. Wow. You would have had $5 cards that become 100 overnight, right?
Have you seen people make money just flipping sports cards?
Absolutely. Those margins, though, you have to be really, really good. So when we first met years ago, I probably started buying slabs, and a slab is just you rip a pack of cards or you buy a card on eBay and you send it to this appraisal company called PSA, Professional Sports Authenticator, and they'll give it a grade out of 10. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. 10 is flawless, right? They call it a gem mint 10. So back then, if you bought a $100 card, you'd have to grade the card for 20, 30, 40 bucks, right? So your investment is 130, 140 bucks. And if you get that 10, you're usually 4xing the amount you paid for the card.
Wow.
So now a $100 card went to 300 or 400 bucks. And the people who were submitting as the boom was happening crushed. Right. We're talking about like not printing money, but an incredible returns on your money. Because Luka Doncic, for example, I was buying his rookie card for $150 at the time. The grading fees had gone up because there was so many people submitting cards to this appraisal company, right? I'm in the card for $150 plus $75 to grade it. So I'm in the card for $225. I submit 10 of those, right? Now, 5 of them come back and I get a PSA 10. Now I've got them. Now I can sell them on eBay, right? Or wherever I want to sell them. I'm watching the market go, and those Luka Doncic cards that I was in for $225 went all the way to $2,000.
Wow.
And I had 5 of them, right? The rest of them were 9s, which were selling for $400.
Damn.
So even the 9s.
That big a difference between a 9 and a 10.
Yeah. Now let me be transparent. I didn't sell my cards at that $2,000 peak. The peak of Luka Doncic was when he hits the 3 over Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep.
In the bubble, right? So I probably cashed out a couple at 900, a couple at 1,200. So either way, like I 5x'd my money on those cards. Then I also had the PSA 9s. So like I'm happy. But then you watch it go to $2,000 and you're like, I'm an idiot, you know? But I mean, talk to anybody who's
You
day
can never
trading
start
or
at the top. It's
No.
so hard.
It's impossible.
No,
Yeah.
it's impossible.
It's the same with crypto.
Yeah.
And if you're trying that, like that is a stressful life
Yeah.
for sure. You know, like that's anxiety
Yeah.
all the time. But if you get good at noticing patterns on a graph, and you're like, a 2x on my money is good,
Right.
or a 3x on my money is great. Like, cash that out.
Right.
Take your profits and then figure out the next guy. So, your question was, can you make money flipping cards? Absolutely. It's just, it's kind of like scouting, right? Like, if you're a professional scout and you know a guy, if you knew Purdy was going to be the guy, right? Like, or the next basketball player is going to be good in 2 years, you could invest 10 grand in his rookie cards, right? Go get him graded, right? And let him sit in your closet for 2 years, and then he pops,
Right.
right? Like, that's how you invest in cards,
Right.
right? And you don't even need to grade them. They could just go up ungraded, but there is that, that 3 or 4 X factor to a PSA 10 as opposed to an ungraded card. And the reason a PSA 10 is so much more valuable, first off, there's a grading fee, right? So, like, it has to jump at minimum the grading fee, right? But also, if there's 10,000 of a particular rookie card printed, there might only be 500 PSA 10s. So there's only 500 PSA 10 rookies. So it's all supply and demand, right? And that's why one of ones are worth the most amount, because to a collector, it's a flex, right? It's like, there's only one of this card in the world. So there's a Luka Doncic, they call it a logo man. They take the logo out of the jersey, out of Luka's jersey. They put it in a card. Luka signs the card.
Wow.
Right? Really cool. And there's only one of them made.
Because there's only one logo on the right.
That thing sold for $4 million.
Wow.
Holy crap.
And somebody just pulled that out of a random pack.
So that's called a National Treasures box, and that's a $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 box.
Right. And you don't know what's in there.
Yeah.
You have no idea what's
Have
in
you
there.
opened any of those?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Wow.
So it's not something that I would enjoy personally to rip, because, like we said, that's you have to have a lot of cash just lying around to play
that
open $5,000 boxes.
Yeah.
So it's way different than going to Target and open a $20 box, right? But also the reward is
way bigger.
Way bigger. Right?
But that's a great example about why that $20 box, because the person who's buying that $20 box is going to get the same, proportional reaction out of that person who can afford the $5,000 box.
100%. And if you're spending $5,000 on a box and ripping them consecutively, I mean, $4 million is probably nice, but you've probably got a couple million, right? Yeah. So it's definitely, like you said, there's that rush, and you're, oh, I feel good. But if somebody buys a $20 box and hits a $100 card, like, that's a come up for somebody who might be a local kid or somebody who's works maybe like a minimum wage job. Now their hobby is, I'm gonna buy some cards. That's what I like to do. And then boom, you're up 5x on your money.
So do the law of averages work out? Like, if I just sit there and I buy boxes all day, am I playing the lotto, or will the law of averages eventually make me a return on my investment?
Listen, there's a lot of work that goes into this, right? So there's different strategies, right? And I think that when it comes to sports cards, there's 3 components, right? And we just went over one, which is investing, right? So the investing portion of that is if you really believe in a draft class, right? You got a lot of quarterbacks who are about to get drafted in this year's draft class in the NFL. But I mean, think about 2020. You had Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua, and Jalen Hurts. Now, 3 of those dudes are like, everybody believes in them, right? Jalen Hurts just got paid $250 million contract.
Highest
for 5
paid
years.
player in the history of the NFL.
Right.
What?
Yeah, 5 years, 255.
Right.
Wow.
And Joe Burrow has been in the Super Bowl. Right. And also, Justin Herbert was supposed to be the best one of all 3, right? After Burrow got injured. So you've got 3 really big names. That draft class, long term, if one of those guys is the next Patty Mahomes, let's say, right? You could buy sealed cases of 2020 Prism football, not even open them, put them in your closet, and the price of that box will just slowly mature, right? That's like I compare that to real estate, right?
Yeah.
It's a safer play, right? It's not sexy. You're not going to 2 or 3x your money, right? Now, if we want to go into so we just talked about investing. That's component 1. Component 2 is, so we just talked about investing. That's component 1. Component 2 is collectors, right? You're just buying cards because you love them, right? Like, you're buying a card and you want to, increase your collection. Maybe you buy, sell, trade, like here and there. Maybe somebody you don't love anymore, or somebody loves a particular player and they have a cool card you want to trade for. And then 3 is that, like, adrenaline rush, right? That's where it's the most similar to gambling. Now, it's not gambling because you're buying a physical product, right? Like if I were to bet tonight that or this weekend that LeBron James is going to beat the Grizzlies -1, I put $100 down, right? Grizzlies win. That money's gone. Now I could put $100 down on a pack of sports cards, pull 5 cards. Oh man, I'm down $100. Guess what? That rookie 2 years later, wow, he's good this year.
Right.
Now he's worth $50. I got $50 back 2 years later. So that's what's cool about this as opposed to gambling, and what makes it unique is that you could potentially get a return on your money a couple of years later based on player performance.
Right.
Which I think is really
That's cool.
Right? So back to your question about law of averages. I personally am not sitting there like ripping back-to-back boxes to make money, right? I love sports cards and I do it as a hobby, right? I do it as a collector. Like, oh, let me rip a pack and see what I can pull, right? But majority of the cards that I buy are Kobe, LeBron, Jordan, Brady, right? Because, again, like real estate, those guys have legacy behind them. They're long-term plays. They might go down a little. They might go up a little. Listen, when Michael Jordan had the Last Dance documentary that came out, his cards went ballistic, right? So there's little moments in time that can increase that, but I look at that as a nice safe play over time. And what I personally recommend to everybody too is for Kobe, for example, Kobe's autographs are set, right? The amount of Kobe autographs that exist in the world, there can't be any more.
Yeah.
Now, some of them remain in sealed boxes, but if you can buy a PSA 10 Kobe Bryant autograph, right, that's numbered less than 50, less than 25. Like, I like something that's even less than that, right? The lowest number possible. So, I was at the National last year, which was in Atlantic City. Yeah. And it was cool. Gary Vee set up a little booth, and he was selling his V Friends. He has digital, but he also has physical cards.
The Zero Cool cards.
Yeah. So he's selling those, but he's a collector, right? He's got Jordan, he's got Kobe, and he's got. Yeah. So I walk up to him, and we're just kind of like chatting, and we do a deal, right? And I buy a LeBron, and I bought a Kobe from him, and I bought a on-card Kobe, and on-card means Kobe Bryant could have been sent 100 stickers, right? At his house, he signs every sticker, he ships them back to the manufacturer, they put them on the cards. On card means they shipped him cards, and he held the card in his hand, right, and signed it. So to a collector, that's more valuable. Right. It holds a higher value than a sticker auto. So Gary Vee has an on-card Kobe auto out of 5. And again, there's only 5 of these produced. Kobe signed it. I saw that. I'm like, I'll buy that from Gary Vee, right? That's a good long-term hold. And also, like, it's a good piece of content, right? Doing a deal with Gary Vee. Yeah. People, I was like, oh, I think people will watch this. But so I kind of 2 birds with 1 stone in that, where I got this cool piece of content, and also I've got this card that I think has a long-term value to it. Right.
So how much was it?
I think
now you got me curious.
I think it was like $6 or $7 grand.
Okay.
A card.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that the most you spent on a card?
No.
Really?
What is the most you've spent on a card?
I have a couple in this range, but the card that I spent the most on and filmed, actually, it's called the Kurosawa. It's a 1-of-1 Star Wars card.
I wanted to touch up on Star Wars.
Yeah, and it's got the 7 Jedi, which is it stems from this story. So George Lucas names the let me restart. George Lucas built the Jedi around this like Japanese tale, and I believe it was called the 7 Jedi. You can fact check me if you have to, but the 7 Samurai. The 7 Samurai. Excuse me, I said the 7 Jedi. So the 7 Samurai, and then this incredible artist Randy Martinez draws inspiration from that as well, and he creates the 7 Jedi, which is the Kurosawa. So the cool thing about this card is you have Anakin Skywalker on the and they're all like wielding their lightsabers. Anakin Skywalker, Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I'm talking about Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. So there's these it's not like a cartoon. It's their faces attached to it. Right. And Samuel L. Jackson, Mace Windu, are all on this card. That's sick. It's a 1-of-1. And the reason I was drawn to this card was, again, back to markets. We're watching graphs, right? I'm watching the Star Wars cards this box came out at like $120, right? Nobody cares about Star Wars. My buddy comes up to me. He's like, yo, you got to see these Star Wars cards. They're really, really cool. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. 2 months go by. Finally, I look at them. I'm like, wow, these are nice. These are like really well-made cards, like original artwork, really, really beautiful. So now I start to rip some boxes. Now they came out at $120. They're already up to like 200, right? And this is like 3 or 4 months from release, which isn't peculiar in the sports card market. Like if a box gets hot and people are paying more for it, you can up the price a little bit, $10, $20, $30, right? So I'm ripping these cards and I'm like, this card is incredible. This Kurosawa, like it's gorgeous. And remember, they make a 1 of 1, they make a 1 of 5, a 1 of 10 out of 25. And then I'm checking prices on eBay. And every couple weeks, the price of the box is going up $50, right? And then the price of the cards, this one card, the Kurosawa, is going up. Whoa, this is weird. So now I'm like, okay, I'm noticing patterns. I think I'm going to start buying some of these cards. So I'm buying them, and they're $100, $200, $300, but they're still, every week they're going up. The box is going up $25. The box is going up $25.
Wow.
I can't find sealed cases either, which is very, very unusual for me. Like, if I make some calls, some guy might try to bang me out on a price, but I can find the cases. Like, I can't find these cases anywhere.
Wow.
So I'm like, there's no cases. I can't get them. I can't source them. And the cards are going up in the market. I'm like, this is going to explode at some point, right? So I find the Kurosawa. The 1 of 1 gets hit. I hear about it. My buddy, I didn't know him at the time. He's my buddy now. His name is a great curator, Dan. Buys the card at the Dallas Card Show for $5,000, right? And I'm like, damn it. I would have bought that card for $5,000, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, fast forward 2 months. I'm in Del Mar Union Marketplace Card Show right by San Diego. I walk into the show. We shoot this intro video. I'm like, it's the NBA playoffs. I'm like, okay, guys, I'm going to buy a Steph Curry or Jason Tatum. I'm basically going to gamble on a guy and see if we can hit big. I'm going to spend $10,000 on a Steph Curry, right? And the whole point of the YouTube video was to find a cool card on the floor and then purchase that card.
Right.
As we're walking in, somebody's like, yo, the Kurosawa's here. I'm like, all right, I got to see it. So we walk over. I'm talking to Dan. And again, I don't really know him at the time. And I said, oh, can I see it? I'm looking at the card. I'm like, wow, how much do you want for this thing? He's like, well, I just got offered $10,000 and I passed it on it. Now, remember, he bought this card for $5,000 60 days before. And he said, no, I don't want that. And I'm thinking in my head at the time, I'm like, he wants $50,000 for this card. Like, that's what I think. I think he's going to hold on this card. So I, just go, well, what do you want for it? He's like, it's got to be something crazy.
What's crazy?
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, $20,000. And I'm like, wow, I can get this card for less than $20,000 right now. Like, that was the first thing I thought, right? Okay. Keep looking at some of his stuff. He collects a lot of non-sport. So like WWE, Mike Tyson, PMG, like just stuff that isn't, as sought after. He does a lot of unique products, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of Star Wars stuff. And I talk with my team. I'm like, I'm going to try to buy this card. We're going to reroute this video right now. Screw Steph Curry, screw Jason Tatum. Like, I want this card, right? So I'm like, listen, man, I'll give you $13,000 for that card right now. And he's like, 19. And then we go back and forth. We settle at 16.5, right? And we film the whole thing, right? So at the time, it was the biggest Star Wars purchase of any modern card.
Wow.
And we filmed it. So we put it online, and now the sales go even crazier online, right? So now that box today, that $120 box is $800.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. 8x?
Yep. And it's 6x'd in about a year, right? So I can barely get my hands on that product.
Right.
And like I said, you could probably find some loose ones for like $600 to $700, but when we buy boxes, like, we got to make a couple bucks. I've got a team of people in LA. I got rent, I got insurance, I got all this stuff, right? So if we buy a box for $700, we got to clear at least $100 on that box, right?
Yeah.
So, but again, these boxes are not easy to find. So I buy the card 16.5, and now I had seen this this documentary. It was called The Last Leonardo, right? And I don't know if you guys are into art, but I highly recommend. I'm not even into art, but I highly recommend watching this doc. So, in like 2009 or 2011, this Leonardo da Vinci painting like pops up in Missouri that nobody had ever seen before, and everyone's like, "That's not real. Like, there's not like a Leonardo da Vinci painting just laying around in Missouri, right?"
Yeah.
So, anyway, this curator from New York, he examines it. He's like, "I think this is real." Puts an offer in on it. I don't know if he paid $1 million or whatever he paid. Brings it to New York. Now they have all of these world-renowned artists and the Metropolitan Museum of Art. All these people are looking at it. And basically, it's like going back and forth. Is it real or is it fake for years? Years in Manhattan, right? Ultimately, they're saying, no, this and that. After 4 or 5 years, they decide, this is real.
Wow.
Right? And they're examining like the wood that like Leonardo da Vinci paints on this type of wood only, like this type of tree bark, and he makes this types of strokes with his brush, right?
That's
like
crazy.
That's how granular they're getting with the examination of this stuff. So they're in this documentary. They're now the art has been shipped to New York. They go over it. Everybody agrees. Okay, it is real. Sells for like $70 million. Right?
Jeez.
70 million. And again, I might be off on some of these numbers. It gets sold. And now it goes on a world tour. And it goes to the Louvre, right? And it goes to France, and it goes to England, and it goes all over the place just on display, right? And eventually, and the thing is not for sale, right? They're just putting it on display at all these different museums, right? And the guy who owned it, and then I think it ends up going back into like a storage unit for 2 years, and then it resurfaces, ends up selling for $500 million.
Wow.
Jeez.
Because that tour helps the valuation immensely, right?
Right.
That's insane.
I mean, the longer something hangs in the Louvre, the Smithsonian, or anything like that, you're basically by the day jacking up that value.
So what you just said, I looked at that Kurosawa that I bought, and I said, I'm going to put this on a necklace, and I'm going to wear this to every card show. And guess what? It's not for sale. I had no intention of selling that card, right? Now, fast forward, one of my buddies who pitched Fanatics on the idea of acquiring all these licenses and really purchasing Topps and Panini and all this stuff and getting into the market, big Star Wars fan. He sees the video, right? And he thinks that I'm just some, pump and dump scumbag, right? Like trying to boost the market up, like sell my card.
Yeah.
And finally I meet him and we're like nerding out about Star Wars movies for an hour or two. And he's like, so how much do you want to sell that card for? I'm like, oh, this isn't for sale.
Oh.
Right? And again, I used it as that marketing tool, right? And ultimately, that's what led me to the relationship I have with Topps and Fanatics today, right? Because of that necklace.
Wow.
So it's like, what is that worth?
Yeah.
Right? Now, 2 months ago, this is an even cooler story. Some guy who watches our streams, I think is sorry if I name your Instagram account wrong. I think it was 26 Card Collector or something. I hear, and I don't know him at the time, I hear that he bought the Yoda 1-of-1 Superfractor from the same set for 26 grand.
Wow.
And I'm like, because if you analyze that market of the Kurosawa cards, like every Kurosawa card is worth significantly more than every other card.
Okay.
So now we've established another sale of a Superfractor in that set that is more than what I paid.
And a less valuable card than what you
Yeah.
have.
So
Right.
it's probably worth like 50K by now.
So I'm not telling you guys the value of the card, right? But what I will tell you is that a PSA 10 of an out of 50 of the Kurosawa sold for $4,000.
Wow.
So you do 4,000 times 50,
Jeez.
Yeah.
right? And again, I'm not saying that's the value of the card. And sometimes 1-of-1s don't trend on that exact scale.
Right.
But also sometimes they go ballistic and go way over that scale. So Lewis Hamilton, famous F1 racer, his rookie card debuted like 2 or 3 years ago. The same weekend I bought the Kurosawa, he had a PSA 7 rookie card, Superfractor. Take a guess what you think it sold for.
Lewis
PSA
Hamilton,
7.
rookie, PSA 7. I'm guessing 10 grand.
1,000.
$900,000.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, what?
$900 grand.
I mean, he's the greatest F1 racer of all time. It's his rookie
I
car.
don't know F1.
They'd never done something like that for F1 racers before. He's also the only, black F1 racer that's ever had any sort of success at that level. Like, he is the unicorn of F1.
That makes sense hearing that.
100%. And the way that I looked at that was, if this Lewis Hamilton card sold for $900 grand, if my card sold for 1/10 of that, I'd be pretty psyched.
Yeah.
It's a good ROI.
Yeah.
And all the branding you got and the deals.
Right.
With
So,
Fanatics.
listen, I somehow, through this whole process, remember, this is Dappz Sports, I've become like the Star Wars guy.
Yeah.
Which I don't hate, because I grew up watching Star Wars. The VHS tapes were at my grandma's house, and I would pop them in, and I'd, get away from the family and watch Star Wars.
We'll
right?
wrap it up on this. What do you think of the new Star Wars movies?
The new Star Wars movies, I was super disappointed in the
I like the honesty because I feel the same.
I agree.
Yeah, in episode 9, I thought it was it was literally the same movie.
They made the same movie again.
Yeah. and
Orphan child saves desert planet from death ray.
Yeah.
it was disappointing, man. It was definitely disappointing as a Star Wars fan. But at the same time, Mandalorian I love. So you got to take the good with the bad, and it's unfortunate that they kind of screwed up those last 3 episodes, but they just announced at Star Wars Celebration in London there are 3 more movies. So, hopefully one of them hits, and some of the Star Wars fans are not happy about it, but we'll see what happens.
Any closing thoughts where people can find you?
Yeah, you can find us Dappz Sports. Our biggest channel is TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, DAPPZ Sports. If you want to rip sports cards, or if you want to rip Star Wars cards, come on down to our live stream. We're pretty much live streaming 24/7. Yep.
You heard it here, guys. Digital Social Hour. Sean Kelly out. See you next week. Peace.